Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Women in Engineering session. We are cordially invite you all for this session. We have eminent speaker from industry, academia, and research field. So this session is aimed to get inspired the young generation with the eminent speaker from the Women in Engineering. So here lineup of speakers: Ananya from Geospatial World, an industry resource person; Rajashree Bothale from ISRO NRSC. We have Divya Sharma from industry. We have Ayushee from Galaxeye. So I take this pleasure to invite Aishwarya to continue the session.
Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session on women in engineering. We're very glad to have with us today a few very eminent speakers in the field. I would like to take this opportunity to first introduce to you Dr. Rajashree Bothale, who is presently the Deputy Director, Earth and Climate Sciences area in NRSC ISRO, Hyderabad, India. She is the project director for National Information System of Climate and Environment Sciences program, which is aimed at creating climate quality databases. And she also has considerable experience in analyzing satellite-based as well as ground-based databases and data collection methods. What I was especially interested in is that she has she was also part of the 35th deputation of scientists to the continent of Antarctica, and she's visited Antarctica. It was very inspiring to hear that. And she she's authored a lot of papers and also 2 books in Hindi. She is one of the eminent women achievers here, and we're all very, very, very glad to have her here. Without further ado, I would like to hand over to Rajashree ma'am to speak to us.
Thank you. I hope I am audible and visible also to the audience there who are attending 2023 IEEE India Geosciences and Remote Sensing Symposium. Can you say I am audible and visible?
You are audible.
Visible? Thank you. So thank you for the introduction, and although I was the second speaker, now I am promoted being the first speaker now. And I'll be talking on work-life balance and contrasting choices faced by professional women today. So without further ado, let me share the screen. So basically, just one word I want to add in my whatever introduction. It's former deputy director. Just recently, I got superannuated from National Remote Sensing Center. Yes, I was deputy director in Earth and Climate Sciences area. So with that note, let me start my presentation. Now, when we talk about the work-life balance of a professional woman, so I will tell about what a professional woman is and why work-life balance is required, because what is expected from a woman. I'll just quote here by a saying by Bhartahari, who was king of Ujjain, and popularly known by his renowned sibling Vikramaditya. We all are aware of Vikramaditya and his working. He was the elder step brother of Vikramaditya, Bhartahari. And what he said was that about the woman during that time, that Karyeshu Dasi, Karneshu Mandri, Bhojeshu Mata, Shayaneshu Rambha, Rupeshu Lakshmi, Shammeshu Dharitri, Satkarma Nari, Kuldharma Patni. Means about a woman, what is expected when she is working, she should work like a servant, Karyeshu Dasi. She should advise like a minister. When she is doing cooking, she should cook a stupendous lunch and dinner. Shaineshu Rambha, she should be like a Rambha. And then she should look like Lakshmi. It means she should be very beautiful. At the same time, Shammeshu Dharitri, like earth, she should be able to forgive everyone. Satkarma Nari Kuldharma Patni. So when a woman is expected to have these many qualities in her, it becomes very difficult for any lady to balance, to have a work-life balance. So let us see what are the challenges which we face. Thanks to Corona, we can now speak from any part of the country or any part of the world. You may be seeing that I'm wearing a sweater because I'm sitting in Jodhpur, which is very cold presently. So let us further. Many people ask why women want to work. What is the necessity? Do they want to work for money? Is it for having some self-respect, or is it to get the freedom? What for women want to work? Many times they say that they want to have economic independence, that's why they want to work, or to support the family. What is the reason? Many feel that the job is required because they are educated, and when they are educated, they should use their education. And many work because they want to serve the society. So there are various reasons for which women work. And which are the different tasks? They could be traditional works. They can work in human resources. They can work in public relation, administration, technical and scientific, marketing, finance, corporate. There are a number of fields in which the woman work. What actually we call as a professional woman? Who is a professional? She may work for any reason. She may work in any field. So she should have a competence. She should have knowledge. She should be knowledgeable. She should have integrity, respect by her peers. Emotional intelligence naturally has to be there in the professional woman, and she should be full of confidence. So these are all other qualities in a professional woman which we look for. When we talk about a professional career, many times the problem comes, many ladies and girls, they take education just to get a good match. That is not a journey of a professional woman. It is, marriage is an ultimate goal, but that is not the important milestone. Many times the girls become educated, but they are not learned. So when a professional woman is there and she is working, she has to have balance. Balance between what? Her career, her personal life, because that is also important. Scholarly attainment, that is continuously she has to upgrade, upsell from time to time. She has to take care of the family responsibilities. So these are the contrasting choices which a professional woman has to face when she is there in a career. So that is what the journey of a professional woman, where she has to have career, personal life, scholarly attainment, family responsibilities, and the contrasting choices. So what are these and what is the reality? Are we really able to balance our work life and the professional life? I mean to say personal life and the work life. What is the benefit of attaining these two? Is it necessary, or we should work or we should not work? We should be alone and do not have a family, or we should have a family, do not work, or a combination of that. That is very necessary. So we will just see what is the current situation and what I think that should be done and what are the different problems. Particularly now, I don't know, because since I can't see the audience, I don't know what kind of audience is there. This is particularly the audience which is there 30 plus or 40 plus. 40 plus, they have a different mentality, but the young audience or the young woman, they are very clever. So my first point is that when you have to have a balance between the professional life and work-life balance, And when you are having a contrasting choice, don't try to be a superwoman. You are not a superwoman, that every woman should understand. If you are doing one thing and you are not able to do something in the house, or your house is dirty, you should be able to accept that and learn to say no. There is no necessary to say every time yes and then take lot of burden on your shoulder. There was one book where it was told that when something which does not belong to you, and if it is given to you, you should say no. Otherwise, a monkey which is lying on someone else's shoulder, 1 minute manager, when the monkey is lying someone else's shoulder, it will jump on your shoulder and it will become your monkey. So every professional woman or any working woman should learn to say no, either sometimes at office or sometimes at home. Then we have to work smarter, not harder. Many times they say that we are continuously working. But when the need comes, when there is a need to show our talent, we are not there. That should not happen. And whenever we have a contrasting choices, stress has to be avoided under any circumstances. Then naturally, health is very important. All professional women, whatever choice is there in work-life balance, you have to have health. So sometimes a professional woman or the working woman has to keep for good health. That is yoga, walking. You can't say that I don't have time. Time doesn't come. We have only 24 hours, but we have to see that how those 24 hours can be divided between the family and the work. And the most important thing where I written in the different color, that is learn from the present generation. Present generation is very clever in this manner, I will say. Generation Y, which is, they will say no if suppose they don't feel guilt. That is the next point is they let the guilt go. The people of my generation, if someone comes in the house or if there is not a good amount of dinner or a balanced dinner on the table, we feel very guilty. But the present generation is not like that. If some guests are there, immediately they will have the Swiggy and Zomato and the work will continue. So that is, we have to learn from the present generation how to balance. Family and work we have to balance, and the family is very important because ultimately family provides support. Many people ask how I'm able to do so many things. I write book, I go here and there, I am socially very active and work-wise also, because I get a good support from the family. If one day the food I'm not able to cook and something small thing is made, I never got any complaint from the family, and that you have to see. And that will only come if the family feels that whatever you are doing is very important. So if the importance is given to your work, and that a woman only can make the atmosphere in such a way that whatever work is being done by the lady is being acknowledged by everyone. And woman should support woman. That is very important. Whenever there is a contrasting choices are there, that the woman has to support, and generally it never happens. And women and men have to work together as a team, because men are different, women are different. Men think only from one side, women can think from both sides, and women can do multitasking, which men cannot do. There are the problems at workplaces. Many times the sexual exploitation is there, unequal equal will be there. But when we have come out, when we are working, sometimes we have to do little bit adjustment. With the adjustment, we can go further. Many times people say that they, on the higher top level, the ladies are not there. There are certain reasons for that, but we have to come out of that, and we have to see that whenever some work is there in the office, we are there to take up the challenge. And in ISRO has taught me like this only: take the challenge whatsoever it may come, and with the support of the family. So family non-support and workplace safety, these are the things which we have to take care. And when such type of problems come, we have to be very bold to tell that problem and to able to sort out that. Maternity leave, I understand that creates problem in the initial work phase, and the people, many times the women, they are below their work whatever they can get because of the maternity leave and not. So, and we should avoid the restroom gossip, which is very necessary. Safety and workplace, every girl has to see, because if you are not safe, your family will never support you to go to the office or to do the further work. So we have to be very careful for safety, and if some problem is there, we have to see that that problem is solved. Then the knowledge of the laws is very necessary. Each girl should be aware, each lady should be aware of the different laws. They will help them to work, and glass ceiling will be there, but we have to overcome. Workplace ceiling will be there, our glass ceiling, because many times we have to work after the office hours. But the balancing the family and the office is our responsibility. And if we want, and if our family feels that whatever we are doing is very important, you will get support. You know that in Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan and all on the places, women have been working continuously, and their entire family has supported them, because they feel that their wife or their better half is doing something good for the society and something good. So that is very much necessary to get the support from the family. Then one more thing is that each organization should have the, for the men folk to tell that they should know about how to treat working mother and wife in the office. And the men has to protect the woman and making her feel space. Mother and father should tell their children, particularly the sons, that they have to get a contribution in keeping the mother and sisters and other people safe. So in work-life balance, we have to learn to cope up with the challenge, new zeal, with the new strength. We have to make ourselves visible, and we have to, there should be more seminar for men, that what they should do when they have a working mother and wife. So we know that there are problems are there, but they are not like that they cannot be overcome. And we know that when a woman moves forward, the family will move, and the village will move, and the nation will. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words that, for all the words that you spoke out of your experience. I'm sure they will inspire, they have inspired all the women in this room to be, to maintain the work-life balance in their own lives. Thank you very much. So next in our lineup of speakers, we have Divya Sharma, who is a seasoned technology and innovations leader with over 15 years of experience in the industry. She is specializing in decision intelligence for the agriculture, infrastructure, and utilities sectors. She is currently serving as the Vice President of Machine Learning and Data Analytics at Satsure Analytics. She has spent over a decade in the US working at the forefront of in technology advancements in autonomous and autonomy in technologies. She is what I was especially interested to know is that she's also involved with the project of autonomous tillage. Without further ado, I hand over to Divya ma'am for her talk. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thanks Aishwarya for a kind introduction. This is really a good intimate setting, so I'm going to keep it very open dialogue, so anytime if you want to stop me. A little bit about me, as she already mentioned, but just to give you a quick memory lane run through. I did my undergrad in computer science, and since then I was in services industry. And I quickly realized that that's not my pulse, right? So then I started tinkering around with hardware a lot, got into robotics, actually did my robotics master's from USC in California. And then since then I was kind of stuck with the Bay Area weather, I would say. Also the innovative problem statements and other things which we were working on. So I've worked thoroughly in robotics, computer vision, took a turn into more machine learning, deep learning. So never trained officially in those technologies, but have picked up along the side when I have the problem statements to solve. As Aishwarya mentioned, last thing we did was majorly autonomous tractors, which we were a startup, we were acquired by John Deere. And the idea was to bring autonomy to a place where you can make an impact. So we have seen like this self-driving has been there for like decades over now, and still we haven't hit more than 2 cities officially across the US. So then it makes sense to bring the technologies to the traditional industries where there are problem statements right there and technology is ready. So I'm going to walk you through how at Satsure we'll be using these technologies and how we are evolving over time to actually respond to the industry needs. A little bit about Satsure. We are a Earth observation full stack company. By that, what we mean, we have both upstream and downstream. So for the longest period of time, we have been exploring the downstream. What I mean by downstream is understanding certain industry problem statements and solutioning your products around that. So I'll be talking about a little bit what are the industry we are working on. If I have to give you a quick spiel on what this looks like, this is like an oil refinery. You have a lot of crude oil, which is our terabytes and terabytes of data coming from space, which is the top layer, the data generation layer. You have many satellites giving you data, right? Now, there has to be a place where this gets to a high octane value, right? That's the middle layer. So we are sitting at that data refinery layer as well as the level below. So here at data refinery, we basically make data products, which are again empowered by all the technology we have currently available, and we exploit a lot of technology in that. And then using those data products, how to solve in certain industries like agriculture, infrastructure and such. So the industries, as I was talking about, agriculture is very close to our heart. Our mission has been to have low income farmer inclusivity when it comes to finance. So there's a problem in India where if you're new to the credit system, it's very hard to get loans. And this happens very often for small holding farmers. So the idea was, can we not use the geospatial data over the years and years, because you have the history of that land parcel, and actually extract some insights which then can enable banks to basically trust the farmer to be able to pay back. So this real mission, this is where we started. That's why the name of Satsure is Satellite Insurance for Farmers. That's where the name came from. But I'll walk you through a little bit of like what products enabled us to do that. Then of course we use a lot of high-res imagery to do a lot of infrastructure and utilities work, which means digitization of the cities, airport, planning of the airports, a lot of
recording in progress,
high tension line monitoring, vegetation monitoring, etc. While we are doing that, we also know as a citizen we have a role to play. So we are very close to our climate modeling, climate sciences, and we are aligned with 9 of the SDGs goal, which we are currently have around. So we have seen so many applications of geospatial, right? So why did that happen? Like in last decade, we have seen now so many applications are starting to use. And it has to do with the evolution we had at every level of resolution. Starting from the spatial resolution, if you remember, MODIS used to still give us 250 meter resolution, then you can only do very coarse level problem solving with that sort of data. As we progressed over time, Sentinel, of course, I think it was a gold mine we hit. Everybody has a lot of Sentinel data and we are cracking really good problems around that. And then further on, when PlanetScope and Worldview and everybody came, now we can actually count cars on the road. So there's a huge variety of problem statement which we could unlock just because we had a better spatial resolution to play with in the last decades. Similarly, spectral resolution. We've been hearing a lot of HSIs coming into market now just because we have started to hit the ceiling of MSIs. So now we are starting to explore more into spectral resolution. And of course, temporal resolution. So things like when you have to monitor, you really want the revisit to happen very, very often. That was not available earlier in the satellites, but now we have daily revisits. So basically you can actually track a person across the globe, right? So all of this has actually fueled a lot of use cases around. These are the different sort of use cases which were basically enabled because of these different resolution at hand. And I think most of us in the room have actually seen these problem statements, so I won't go in detail. But I do want to go deeper into one of the problem statements to just give you a view of how we are exploiting some of these technologies. So again, at Satsure, we have developed a range of data products which can trace a life cycle of the entire crop. So when I say that life cycle, starting from the land preparation to how the sowing has been going around, so sowing progression around the season, to all the way what crop did I grow, to then what could be my potential yield based on the maximum NDVI, to then actual harvest progression. So these information now is very important for banks to understand when to lend the money, when to go for collection, when to underwrite, right? So these are the different products which gives you now a solution for a particular industry. And these are some of the products we have used, again, latest greatest tech, which I'll be talking about. So just before I go into more deeper stuff, just a quick walkthrough. We are all familiar with this era of AI. Initially, we used to, and we still do, a lot of hand tuning of features. So during 2000s is when SVM, K-means, the random forest, everything came into this era where everybody has started using it very, very intensively. But here, there was too much of upstart time. You had to be an expert to find the right features to then train your model. But then as we move into deep learning, this was a time ImageNet came, GPUs became very cheap. So here we figured out, okay, you know what? I don't want to, handcraft any data. I'm going to have my model learn it as long as I give it the right target to learn, which we call supervised learning. A lot of these labeling and everything started coming up. But the problem with this pillar was it's very linear. Every time you have a task on the same data, you'll have to retune everything. Right? Third is what you and me are living here right now. It's in the foundational model era. And I think this is very revolutionary in my opinion. I'm very optimistic about this, so I'll be showing you some more work around that area. This everybody knows, I don't want to go deeper, but basically in supervised learning, you had trained the machine to recognize species based on a particular target you have given. So you are actually minimizing for a loss. So we have exploited that supervised learning, and I think almost everyone in the room has probably exploited that. So we were very successful in certain kind of data products. So for example, land use, land cover. It's a very fairly suited problem statement for a supervised learning. So here what you see is left is an input image using again a deep learning model, which is a pixel based. You could actually tell what each pixel belongs to. This particular is a 7-class model. But this is one of the use cases of supervised learning. Farm boundary, right? Although these look simple, but even to build those, it does take 6 months to 8 months. This is not as simple as input and output. That input is actually across the year data because the color, hue, and everything of your particular farm is going to change across the year based on when the harvest happened, when the sowing happened. But again, good application, great application if you were to do a farm analytics. Then we applied also those feature engineering ways to crop classification. Left is these, actually just if somebody hasn't seen the NDVI curve, this is the signal you get. So don't pull your hair out if you get this signal. There is a light of hope to get there. So basically this is how you do the classification where you've taken the signal, you have actually sort of tried to remove the noise, average it out so that you get much more cleaner profile and then train a model to do this. This is just showing we could do this for multiple crops. So similarly, like it's a supervised way of doing things. Now, supervised, everybody was happy. We were all enjoying it. Give me label data. Every data scientist will cry on their manager, hey, I need 20,000 images. Can you get me? But hey, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to put the entire pipeline to it, right? This is so linear. We can't work with it. So in terms of challenges, if I were to say in this room, probably you may resonate. I have a timer going on now. So these are certain challenges I think almost all of us have gone through. Lack of GT label data, data gaps because of the optical obstructions which we see from the space. Spatial spectral resolution, which is typically is not up to the mark when we use it. Development time, I just said. Every time you have to churn the whole thing. And again, scaling the solution or generalizing the solution. So in my mind, I think we are in the right era. There is some grouping happening in this level, One is based on signal, another one is based on scale. So just keep that in mind. I'll quickly go over something. So this is just an example of what the problems we have. Okay. Anyone in the room can tell what is common between these faces? Of course they're fake. They're not living human beings. But they were able to fool us, right? We can see these are real human. I can be friends with this person, right? Why not? Any problem with this? Anything you can basically point out that looks odd in here? For the time's sake, I'll tell you. The lettuce and the cheese is actually merging. So this is also generated. This I'll skip because you guys may have seen it. It's basically an AI generated video now. You can give a text prompt and this is what you get. Like you can sit in the home, make a movie 5 minutes before and watch for 60 minutes, right? So what has changed? What has changed, right? So when we were in supervised learning, fundamentally we were using a very different probability distribution as opposed to what we were doing, what we will do now. So earlier what we were saying is, given set of features X, what's the probability that this is this class? So given X, what is the probability of me finding a ship in this image? Pretty straightforward. You train the model, you get it. We're going to flip the coin. We're going to say that this image has a ship. What is the probability that this pixel is going to be belonging to a ship? This is a harder problem because now you're trying to represent the entire distribution. But you can actually exploit this a lot, as I shown the previous fake faces. If you start learning the distribution, you can generate the data, which you can get the samples without actually getting the labeled data. So let me quickly rush through. So I'm optimistic. We are solving these two through different ways. At Satsure, we have used these technologies on 2 different levels. One is to improve our spectral and spatial resolution. This is the algorithm. We actually use a lot of GANs and transformers to then give you a 4x of the input resolution. So this is the left is the input image. What you get is the right output image, which is the 4 times the resolution of your left. Now what it gives you is better visibility of features. So visually you can now detect stuff in the image. Also, in the different bands, when there are geospatial experts, remote sensing, agriculture experts, they get much better resolution and even in the false color composites and whatnot to then find which crop is where. This is another example, very crisp and clear boundary. This is not only true for human being. So then we tried open models like SAM. Everybody probably knows SAM here, segment anything. Nothing to do with geospatial, nothing to do with our data. We ran the left side image, which was a 10 meter. We weren't able to find many objects in this image. The moment we ran our super resolution image through it, without changing a thing, the actual detection increased 8x. So it was very evident that the generated new features were very responsive for the actual algorithm. So I'll quickly walk through 1 minute. Okay, so quickly walk through the other solution we had, which is again a generative model where we had used input image from both optical and SAR to then remove the cloud and reconstruct RGBs. So this, what it has given us is a business continuity in the case of seasons when we have a lot of clouds. On the left, I have a district on which it's all cloud covered. By using the product is called Cygnus, we are able to detect these different colored crops using NDVI because it's not visual, it's an NDVI thing. Okay, I guess my optimism is here on the Gartner chart. We are somewhere here, we are actually leaping in here. So self-driving, as I said, has struggled a lot because the demand of data was so much. You cannot possibly collect and label that much data. So they've already proven how this synthetic data is actually going to move us going forward and have these game-changing technologies. Foundation model, I'm going to quickly skip this, but this does have a lot of potential in terms of compressing the knowledge. The problem what we initially told was for every problem statement we were rinsing and repeating. We're doing the labeling data again and again and again and solve it. But the funny part was the image was exactly same. I use same image for farm boundary, I use same image for crop classification, I use same image for LULC. So why can't I learn from that image? So this is where the foundational model come into picture. You actually try to compress the knowledge of the domain so much that any task further is based off on just that knowledge. So, and the last thing I want to say, Models are great only to the point when we understand them. So I think we should not forget, and this is what we do at Satsure as well, every level we need to explain our answers, right? So every time we have to have an explainable data, why I use that data, what was the diversity of my data, all of that, why my predictions were certain way, what were the feature which was important in making that prediction, why certain layer was lit up, right? So all these things, as we are building product, if together as professionals and academics, we should do this so that we have much more confidence and more validation given to our products. With that, thank you so much. We do have 2 industry talks which will go deeper into super resolution as well as one of the other canopy height monitoring. So please follow those 291 and 297 talks. Thank you everyone.
Thank you. Thanks very much for breaking down all of that information into smaller, more digestible parts. Thanks very much for the talk.
Next, Ayushee.
Okay. We have with us today Ayushee Nandani, who is a seasoned business analyst at Galaxeye Space. She drives strategic growth with a year of impactful contributions. Her market exploration skills capitalize on new opportunities in the dynamic space industry. She is passionate about technology and innovation. She envisions solving space challenges through advanced AI and ML. Without further ado, I hand over to Ayushee. We are very glad to have you with us today. Thanks for coming.
I'm Ayushee. I did my undergrad from VIT Vellore, and I was also a CS graduate. Post that, I kind of realized I'm kind of more interested in like the business end of things as well. And so that's why I kind of transitioned, and that's how I got into Galaxeye Space, and that's, yeah, okay. Thank you so much. So yeah, that's pretty much like a brief introduction about me. So yeah, I think, again, my talk here would be kind of overlapping with Divya ma'am's as well. She did, again, a great job explaining complex stuff in a very simplistic manner. I hope to do the same. So yeah, so again, some of the, like there's a huge boom of geospatial data in the commercial space these days, right? So I think the first use case here, Divya ma'am explained amazingly. And a few more like that I would like to touch upon is the things like dark ship monitoring for marine insurers, right? So I say this because I think one of like, after having, in conversations with a lot of people in the industry itself, I've realized that it's not like just one industry who's facing issues right now with monitoring or like manual monitoring, right? So having geospatial monitoring has helped, accelerate a lot of use cases across domains as well, right? So one of them which I found extremely interesting was dark ship monitoring. I'm not sure if anybody here knows about what dark ships are. The key's open. Nobody? Yeah, so same. The first time I read about it blew my mind. So basically, all marine vehicles majorly work on like AIS signals, right? So it's the technology that the captain of the ship operates, and then that's how everybody knows where everybody is in the sea. You don't crash into it, and there's not another Titanic. So basically, that's why, like, that's majority of how the technology works these days. But there's a gap in AIS right now, so it's very easily jammable or a very easily turn off, thing that can be turned off. So the minute a ship does that, it's off the grid. So at that moment, it's classified as a dark ship, right? You don't know what that ship is doing, what kind of contraband, is it smuggling, is it even smuggling or not, right? So I think that was one of the use cases that caught my attention very much. And again, that's something that I think I'll be further elaborating on once I go ahead. But that's why I think there's a huge momentum of geospatial data, because again, it's like your eye in space. There's nobody who can, you know, like you have sights everywhere. You can't just turn it off. Again, one more use case would be underwriting policies and also claims management across insurance, as well as crop insurance. You can get it in property insurance. So all of these like use cases have huge manual involvement in the past, and the more we grow as human beings, the more we get AI, everything, we want things to be faster and more accurate, right? So moving on. Again, I think Divya ma'am explained this very well, but I'm just reiterating it a bit. Why is there an abundance of geospatial technology, right? So there is a huge influx of data going back 10 years. I'm not sure you'd be able to find, you know, this much geospatial data available for just experimentation across, right? Things like your browser nowadays make it extremely easy to you know, play around with all kinds of geospatial data, not just optical or like synthetic aperture radar imagery across, right? And that's how you explore more and more use cases, and you realize there is so much more that geospatial data has to offer. So again, abundance of data. Next thing would be, again, development technology. Ever since cloud came into the picture, everything has become such a fast-paced, you know, phenomena. So now I can download terabytes of data at like 5 seconds, which is truly incredible if you think about it, right? And again, third thing would be prototyping or like development of, you know, specific use case specific dashboards, right? So even laymen like farmers, like Ms. Divya mentioned, would be able to operate these dashboards and like quickly get the insights that they want and like kind of get, you know, abstraction from all the back end. So moving on. So I think ma'am also mentioned that there are certain gaps in the data today, right? So I'll take two data sets, for example. One would be the MSI, the optical camera-like images, and the next would be SAR. So I think what I would like to like highlight in these two data sets would be that optical is extremely intuitive, right? You take a look at it and you'll be able to identify multiple features in the image. And you know, similarly, that's how machine learning models will also have ease at identifying like, you know, simple use cases like object detection or change detection in like very high resolution optical images, of course. On the other hand, we have SAR, so that's synthetic aperture radar. I'm sure people are aware of it, and if not, just a quick iteration. Synthetic aperture radar is where we send signals across and then record them, and that's how we map out an image. So I think what an issue with SAR that we can see here would be, it's not very easy to like identify the features in an image, right? So say, for example, you didn't have this optical image. I doubt in this grainy, monotone image, you'd maybe identify what exactly is this? Is this a land? Is this a minefield? Whatever, right? Not very easy to like identify. So similarly, so you can see there's like a contrasting view of like optical is very intuitive, but not so available because of low light conditions, cloudy area, mist, etc. And SAR, at the other hand, is very like available. Even at night, you can do nighttime imaging. But at the same time, it's not intuitive. So what do we need? So the need of the hour then becomes highly accessible as well as highly interpretable data. So this is necessary not only because, again, more data means more insights, but at the same time, more like valuable data will end up resulting in more accurate insights, right? So generative AI, again, here is the path to advancement. So I think Madam Divya had mentioned already that they've been combining SAR and optical to help identify things like crop yield or predicting crop yield. Like that's an advanced insight from just identifying what type of crop it is. So again, it's part of the entire making use of generative AI techniques like image-to-image translation, and so on. So, yeah, but there's issues right now. So I think ma'am stepped a bit on how fusion works, but I'll go over it a bit more. So currently, if you take two different data sets, you get, so for example, you take SAR from one available data set and you take optical from another data set. You'll run into a few problems when you try to do like fusion of those two data sets. So there's like 3 kinds of fusion. Feature levels fusion, then there will be pixel level fusion, and yeah. So basically 3-4 million types of fusion, but like these are the few top ones. So if you try doing that, you'll run into issues like temporal and spatial mismatch. So I think everybody might be aware of like how exactly this plays out, but I'll just reiterate just in case. So like I said, what is perspective mismatch, right? So you take one imagery of SAR and you take one clear imagery of optical, and you see that they're not exactly taken in the same scene, right? They might be taken from, like, especially SAR, because you project radars there. There might be a misplacement of the feature of the item that you're trying to see, right? So that is basically what perspective mismatch is. So here also, you'll be able to see that there's a image here of oil container, and there's another SAR image there, which kind of doesn't show very well what kind of an infrastructure are we monitoring, right? So if you try fusing these two, it'll result in a lot of noisy data. Similarly, we have temporal mismatch. So basically, there's 2 images taken at different times. So I'll go a bit more into this, right? So if they're taken at different times, you're not really sure if what you're seeing is actually true. So you'll have to take multiple images of both data sets to verify if that's actually true or not, right? Going a bit further, this is an example. Again, like I mentioned, dark ships, right? So listing about dark ships, it's a very crucial, time-sensitive thing, right? So you would want to know exactly where the ship is docked, especially, so if anybody's keeping up with news recently, there was a China ship docked at the Singapore port, and they were supposed to be docked only for 5 days, but apparently they were there for 2 weeks. So yeah, this caused a lot of political, agitation and everything. So stuff like this is extremely important, not just to governments and agencies, to port authorities, and to people whose ships are already there too, right? So that's why another good example of temporal mismatch here would be seen. Here in the SAR image, you can kind of make out that there is no ship in that dock. But in the maybe 3rd or 4th optical image you find, which is cloudless, you see there is a ship docked. So again, this kind of a temporal mismatch causes a lot of anomalies. And while I've taken 2 very singular images here to compare, this is kind of hard to identify when you run all of this through a generative AI model as well, right? Or any ML model. So this results in a lot of false positives. It results in lack of accuracy. So what's the solution? Basically having a temporally and spatially matched data set, right? So you'll find this, it's not impossible, you'll find this in the current data set, but not in abundance. So moving on, what do we here at Galaxeye aim to do is to have multi-sensored satellites which will give you SAR and optical fused images, as well as edge computing, up in space at the same time. So there is minimum amount of false positives, is very less anomalies found once you run your AI models through our data set, right? That's what our aim is, basically. So that is basically what I wanted to tell today, and I guess I'm done. I don't see the... Anyways, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Ayushee, for taking forward all our discussions on, emerging technologies in this space. We can now convene for the panel. We'd like to now invite all our speakers for the panel discussion. The speakers of the last session are all joining us today for the panel discussion. Please join us on stage, and of course, Rajashree ma'am is already available online. Please join us for the panel discussion. We also have with us today Dr. Ramiya, who works as an associate professor in remote sensing and image processing at Indian Institute of. We also have with us today Dr. Ramiya, who works as an associate professor at the Indian Institute of Science and Technology, Department of Space, Thiruvananthapuram. She has received her PhD in remote sensing from IIST Trivandrum. She also has an MS in remote sensing and spatial analytics from the University of Southampton in the UK. She has over 18 years of experience in handling and processing geospatial images from various multi-sectoral hyper-spectral sources. We are very glad to have you with us today, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. So now to the questions. This is the part I like very much. Being a naturally curious person, I like to ask people questions, and I'm very happy that I've been given this opportunity to ask questions to everybody. Hopefully we can all have a really informal conversation about women in engineering and women and our futures in the STEM field. My first question, it is kind of open to all because it's a very generic question. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about, given that the gender ratios in STEM are what they are, what is it that, what are the factors that led you to take up STEM careers? Are there any particular instances? Are there also other women in STEM who inspired you to take up STEM careers? Anyone can answer.
I'll take the question. Okay, I'm audible. Right, I think you touched upon the right point. The gender ratio is very skewed, especially when I worked in US. It's a single-digit percentage. Can you imagine? Like it's typically 2 to 3%. And the company I used to work for had 3 female in STEM, meaning engineering or research and stuff like that, out of 160 people. Right? So this is a huge gap. But when I came to India, I feel much more better. At our company itself is 33%. What a boost. However, there's a long road to go. And just as I felt coming from that single percentage, you miss the role models in your life, right? So you don't have people you will be looking up to saying, oh, this is my skin, like this is similar to me and I can actually be that person. The line of sight is sort of blurred, very blurred. So then one challenge would be, okay, you don't see somebody in 3-4 levels up of you, of similar kind like you. What do? There are ways to circumvent it, right? So this is where our male colleagues, they come as a champions to us, right? So then we oversee and then basically they become mentors, and then you actually really work with them. I think one thing which I guess it helped me was I don't know if it was my growing up or something. Being always around with diverse group had helped me so that I never felt cornered in any sense. It automatically had like sort of a confidence in you saying, if they can do it, I can do it. So you start putting filter for yourself that they are different skin than you or they are different people than you. They're same, all are human, right? So there are two ways to sort of attack it in my view. One is together as a society, we need to fix the pipeline problem. It's been around, we're trying to work on it, but the results are very minimal. On the other hand, whosoever has been on those paths, like, I'm sure there are female in the room right now who have the sort of credibility and kind of position on which they can pull others up. So this is a time when we pull each other up and give them like women supportees, women sort, and also our male colleagues helping us in really cracking these ceilings. But yeah, I would love to hear from you both as well.
Hello all. So I'm just going to talk from the academic perspective. Just to put it in perspective, like we have many PhD students, girl students doing their PhDs, right? Like you can see many of them in the PhD, but like when it comes to academics or academia, like those who come for a lecturer or a professor post is like very minimal. I'm talking about, not like ladies who take up like in some private college. I mean, they just wanted to, it is as like a second choice, because they are at home and they wanted to go. I'm not talking about like, in a IIT or, in a central university. If you look at the percentage, it's less than 5% or less than 10%. I mean, it's very, very low. So why that thing is because, like as Rajashree madam had kind of put it in her thing, the work-life balance, etc. is like very, very important. Like you need family support. So, and you need the community support. Okay, but so all these are something that is required for a girl to, come up in into the engineering or any domain as such. Okay, it's not only engineering or STEM. It's like any domain you need the community support. That is something I hope it would change in the future generations to come. And which had inspired me, of course, into the space technology. I was like quite inspired by space and all this from my childhood. So that made me take up the career. So girls out here and young girls out here, so if you are interested in something, nothing is gonna stop you. You might get like criticism towards your in different stages of career by many people. I mean, you don't have to like bother about it. I mean, it is your life finally. You are going to decide your future. So just, go ahead with what you think is right, and with all the support, I'm sure that you'd be able to achieve it. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I add something here?
Sure, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I feel wherever we are, sometimes we don't get any woman to look as a role model, as the previous speaker told. In fact, when I was working, although the ISRO has got around 20% of the women folk, but the office where I was working, I did not have any female company for almost 15 years or so. So in spite of that, then you see whosoever is there around as your role model and you try to do it. Second thing is that some places we are inferior and we should accept that. Inferior means physically, yes, there are some of the things we cannot do it. Only one or two will be able to do it, but we should accept that gracefully. So accepting gracefully our actual situation will go a long way for any girl or any woman to rise in their career. We should accept it. There is no problem in that. And as again and again I will point out that people should respect you, whatever you are doing. If you get respect by your family, by your society, then everything is possible and you can achieve your goals. That's what I would like to say to all the people who are out there.
Thank you.
Nothing is impossible.
Yeah. My next question. We've been talking about in your answers. You've been talking about mentorship a lot. Sometimes about not having mentors. Sometimes about how women in positions of authority can actually lead other women on to create good careers for themselves. Maybe could we elaborate on that a little more? How important is mentorship by other women in the STEM field? Have you had such mentorships? Also, what are the kind of mentorship opportunities that are available currently in the STEM field? So maybe we could talk about that a little.
Can I add something here?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think from the last answers, I would also agree with the women here that having good mentorship is extremely important. So I'll take a case from my childhood. So again, I am grateful to be in a privileged family. So my parents were aware about STEM and women in STEM. So it was very grateful for them to encourage me and let me pursue my dreams as well. But at the same time, I grew up in an all-girls school, so there was a lot of bonding over there as well, especially through my teachers. So even my male professors, right? So I had a chemistry male professor. He would always tell us stories about women who have been very famous in the STEM industry, but maybe not so talked about. So especially Madame Curie. So he would always come up to us, give us new stories about Madame Curie every single day in his lecture. So I think that helped a lot. So I think definitely having mentorship in your formative years is key to maybe get people more interested in this field. And I guess any of you want to add?
Yeah, I think you rightly said, and this to be honest, it goes not just for women, across sort of every walks of life. I think mentorship, we don't feel it necessary if we think about it, but it is actually necessary. There are things you would be having in your professional life you don't have an idea on, although mentorship is not getting all the right answers, by the way. You go to a mentor to listen to more questions actually. The answer is still gonna come from you, but your mentors is gonna either share something they have gone or they have dealt with, or they have some ideas, but they would not prescribe you anything. But then just allowing your mind to get open by having other people question you on your decisions or things you have been pondering on really helps. So I think across the board, I feel like mentorship, we all should do it. Both. I am still a mentee and a mentor both, because there are areas in every profession where you feel like, oh, I'm not so good about it. How do I start? So another thing which had really helped me during mentorships also is my mentors have either known through that situation or they know where to go. So they've always connected me to right person. So mentorship and networking goes very hand in hand, to be honest. You're tapping into somebody else's network now, right? So it is not important what you know. It is important who know what you know. So there is a difference that you now are building your network where informally you are connected to more people than what you were before. So in both ways, I would say it goes without saying, every level should do it. Doesn't matter senior, junior, anything, but it really opens up a lot.
In fact, we were not that lucky to get mentors during our career. But yes, now we are mentors for the juniors. I will also agree that mentorship is good and people should have mentor, but that does not stop you from growing. See, a solution cannot be same for all the people. Each condition is totally different. Each situation is different. So even if you have a mentor, it is well and good. But if you don't have a mentor, you should not stop growing. That does not stop you from growing and learning from others.
Thanks very much. We're having this really nice discussion here, and I just want to give the audience the mic to see if there are any pressing questions. Maybe we could take a couple of questions from the audience.
Hello, I'm Shivika Saxena, and I'm a PhD scholar from NIT Allahabad. I really enjoyed this session. Things very close to me were discussed here, especially from Dr. Rajashree Bothale. Ma'am, I wanted to ask you a question. You were focusing, emphasizing a lot on family support, and to get that support, the family should feel that we are doing something important. So I am a little bit confused over there because I know what is important to me and what interests me, and I am very ambitious about it. I know I have a family of my own, and I know they need me at different levels of in different phases, and I feel like that I am not able to convey that to my family, that my work is important, and they feel like I have a 3-year-old kid, so if I keep her at home and go to work, they feel like they are doing some favor to me. So that feeling is I know one of the points you mentioned is that we have to live guilt-free. I take that, but it's not very easy because I think I made my question. I think you understand.
I understand, and I understand your dilemma also in asking the question, and also see, it is a very catch-22 situation. We have to work, but initially itself, when we are working, and if some important work is there in the office, or even if it is not there, you should never say any loose thing about your office in the house. Because the moment you start discrediting your office work, your family will take advantage of that. And another thing is that, see, during your initial phase of the life, you need support. So whether it is in-laws or whether your parents, support is very much necessary.
Yes.
One has to be really clever to see that how to get the support. I'll just take 1 minute. When I was very young, those days I used to read the magazine Sarita. I don't know how many of you have read that magazine. That used to have some beautiful family stories in that. There it was in one of the magazine, I remember in one of the stories I remember that the in-laws, they come to the house, two families, and one family was very much saying, no, my in-laws have come, I am very happy. Why? Because I gave them the freedom, and at the same time I am able to get the work from them. My father-in-law teaches my son, or my mother-in-law does nice cooking, but I have to tell, yes, my mother-in-law, you are a very good cook. So it is a balance which a person has to do. Sometimes you have to listen also, but for the greater time, you should able to understand that what is important. So that balance comes. Let us talk sometimes off the grid also.
Okay,
I will give you more tips.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I like the tips that you gave. And I'd like to mention that I really enjoyed the presentation of Divya ma'am, the way she was presenting and the confidence she was emanating, and even the slides. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. More questions? If someone can give the mic.
Yes, hello, my name is Amrut. I'm from the Indian Institute for Human Settlements. I'm a researcher there. It's a question and also sort of a comment. I work at an institution where more than 50% of the researchers, staff are women. And it gives me great pleasure in knowing this and trying to sort of see that camaraderie that exists between genders. But the question here is, how much is this an onus of an institution to take up a policy in such a case that gender diversity is primary concern with research in academia or industry, or is it on the people themselves? That's what I wanted to ask.
So, yeah, I hope you can hear me. So you are like talking about like academia and stuff, and like how we manage the thing. I mean, see, there is one thing called as like childcare leave. I'm not sure whether you are aware. Like in the case of central government, like we are entitled, and like people take maternity leave. But I'm not sure like whether you know that like usually the women are penalized when they go in for such a leave. Okay, and there is a mentality still. It exists in many of the central government organization or state government organization when they recruit a women fellow for a faculty position or something. I mean, they tend to go for leave, you know, those kind of things. So this is something that I suppose like it is something that like the mentality should change. And it's going to be a long way in our Indian scenario. I mean, I'm sure that it's not only restricted to India. I mean, this is the situation in many countries. So that is, I mean, government has made certain policies like, you know, the quota for women should be this. But that is not strictly followed in any of the organization. I think it's the same with the private firms as well, but this is something that is very evident in a government scenario. So I hope things would kind of change, but again, the person sitting on the other hand who's responsible for the recruitment, and even another thing we can say is like the director or the top level management people, how many of them are women? That trend is slowly changing, but it is going to take a long time. Like I was telling, like, you know, the top management. So it will change over maybe, you know, in another 20-30 years, we hope, when we have more sooner. Yeah. Let's hope. Yeah. That's my thing. Maybe Rajashree ma'am or someone who would like to.
Yeah, I think I don't think this is a people's onus thing. Let's be very clear, right? They did not get born with a certain passport saying ki, you know, you are this kind and then you have a certain things. So I think, and this reminds me of actually Professor Harini's talk. She mentioned that all the magic actually happens in a very diverse areas. So diversity in thinking, diversity in problem statement, cross collaboration, right? So we've already seen so many winning situations where we have cracked problems when we had all minds in the room. So I think policy has to support this. And sorry for being ignorant, but I think I'm really not sure if why this policy doesn't exist, because when I was working in states, I think it was a very set rule that there is certain percentage where it's not like basically put on paper the quota wise, but there was a set percentage of, you know, women pipeline would be moving, or in fact for veterans. So the people who would serve the war, we would want to make sure they get preference, right? So, and this was for the betterment of the society. So this is where the actual policy impacts the whole thing. So I think policy wise, and then since we have seen so much of winning happening, so as she rightly said, like the people who are having the right privilege should be thinking about it and bringing more people of certain kinds.
One thing happens, just I'd like to add here. It is for both the sides, for women also and for men also. Like the men folk also, many times what happens, they feel that the women are taking undue advantages of the situation. Many women are there who do not take, but I know many cases, like for example, Ramya has mentioned about the childcare leave. So a childcare leave is there. It does not mean that you have to consume all whatever number of days are there. I don't know, because I'm past those things. So that should not happen. When even a lady, when there is a no need to the child, even if you the child care leave and your men folks know, naturally they will not respect you in the future. So everyone has to see that the rules are there, they are for your benefit. But you should not exploit the rules. The moment anyone starts to exploit the rules, you will not have the same respect in the eyes of others. So everyone should avoid that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, everyone. Maybe since we're running out of time, we could conclude with any last pressing comments on the future. Where do you see women in STEM in the future? Maybe a few last comments and we conclude?
I think I am very optimistic given now, even in this room or even in this conference. So things have started changing. But with that, I feel like we should not lose the momentum. And as I earlier said, some of us may be getting into a position where we do have privilege to pull others up. So I think now I take my personal responsibility when I hire or I look for next set of leaders, right? Again, very meritorious ones. There is no partiality or anything going, let's be very clear. Just to support that argument, I would just want to say that there has been a research done where any job posting you post, female candidates wait for 100% match on everything what is said on JD, job description. Male candidate, because inherently they are more risk-taking, they have maybe more confidence, right? Even if they don't match 60%, they'll be like, I'll do it. So for all the female in this room, let's say I'll do it. I'll figure out how to fill the gaps later. Let's just jump on it, right? So I think these small tidbits, if we change on our level, then people who are now putting, we are getting privileged a bit in terms of pull other people will do our job. And then third policy, like getting this awareness across that, hey guys, the diversity matters. We have seen it. It's been proven. So let's make the right policies around. So those three things is what I think call to action from my side would be.
Thank you. Also, thank you for leaving us with that very optimistic note.
Yeah, I just like to add here that there has to be a motto that nothing is impossible. Okay. Everything is possible, and if we feel like we can do it. So each and every woman should be talking about that I can do it. And ISRO is the best example of that. You all know that there's so many women folk out there who are the project directors of all the successful missions. So everything is possible. It can be done.
Yeah, I'd also like to add to whatever both ma'ams have said here, is that I think we need to be a bit more loud of our achievements, of our goals, of our roadmaps, of everything, equally as loud as everybody else. We need to make people know that we're here and we're here for a long time. And we're gonna, again, optimistically, me too, I hope this will be an entire room of women the next time we're here.
My only thing is like whatever dream or passion that you have, like never leave it for anyone or anything. So it's finally you. What do you want to achieve in your life? So never give it up for anything, or you will find some way or the other. Okay, these are all momentary things. They'll pass. Time will pass. So just go ahead with your dreams. That's it.
Thank you very much for all those motivating, inspiring words. As a token of our...
Thank you to the organizers and to my co-panelists.
We have one comment from audience in online. So as we discussed, women are pioneering all of the domains. So one of the best example is this conference is chaired by Jaya Nair. She's single-handedly handling everything. You can see her in the morning to evening. We are inspired to have, we are lucky to have her here and organizing. Thank you, Gurudatta, for showing us this thought to us.
Adding to that, yesterday in the inaugural, you could see, the plan. Adding to that, yesterday in the inaugural, you could see the chief guest was a woman, and then like you had a plenary talk from a woman. That's like something that you do not see in such a conference usually. So that's something that was very, very happy to see as a woman. So yeah.
Thank you, thank you. As a token of our appreciation and as a thank you for joining us today, we will now hand over mementos to our speakers.
Thank you, Aishwarya, for moderating our session and maintaining the flow of discussion. Now, as a token of thanks, we would like to give memento to our speakers. I would like to invite Pavan Vyas, CEO of G6, to give memento to Ramiya ma'am. Next, Dr. Prakash PS from Dublin, Ireland, postdoctoral fellow. I would like to give you a token to Ayushee ma'am. And Dr. Chandan from NIE Mysore to Divya ma'am. Thank you, Rajashree ma'am, for joining this session, and we'll be sharing your memento with you soon.
Thank you. I have so many fleet of ISRO NRSC women.
Thank you, ma'am, for joining the session. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session and being an interactive audience.